What is the most common reason for people getting lower back pain or getting postural imbalances, spinal deviations, possibly neurological impingement and neurological problems? Well, one of the main reasons for that is core stability. The core is something that has been discussed a lot, especially online. There's a whole bunch of articles out there talking about the functions of the core, the different aspects of the core, and then there's even more exercises, including a lot of crunches, a lot of leg raises, and a lot of twisting that is aimed at kind of getting the core stronger. But essentially what people forget is that the core does not provide strength to the body, the core provides stability. And there is a massive difference between strength and stability. Both of them are very important, but essentially they're completely different things, even though they work together to create kind of overall performance for the entire body. If we're just focusing on the core, we're looking at a system of muscles which essentially provides compression. So that compression is there for in order to keep the abdominal contents inside, first of all, and also keep everything tight around them. But that compression is also useful for the spine. So what happens if, let's just say that someone has a weak core? I don't like to use the word weak too often, but let's just say lack of stability in the core. What could potentially happen is that the muscles that basically keep the spine in a straight position, those muscles can start to overwork, and essentially they will get tight. And if a muscle gets tight, it will start to hurt, or it will start to pull different aspects of the body in different directions. So if someone's pelvis, for example, is in a neutral position, like this, and there's a slight curvature, like a very normal curvature of the spine, which is fine, but the moment the core is not functioning right, this curvature may increase, especially down here, which is what we get in people with lordosis. And once this curvature increases, what happens to the muscles? The vertebrae close the space in between themselves and they can pinch on the nerves. The muscles can start to overwork, possibly because they become really short, but also whatever happens on the back of the body will have an effect on the anterior aspect of the body. So if this aspect of the body gets shorter and gets contracted, then the front of the body will lengthen. So if this portion of the body lengthens, then there is a big chance of injuries like hernia, like any kind of protrusions, which is basically when organs from the abdominal contents protrude through the abdominal walls, which essentially is a hernia, different sports hernias, which are related to the groin. So weakness in the abdominal muscles due to lack of stability in the core can have an effect all around the body, essentially. Before we go into talking about how we can improve that and how we can basically prevent all these injuries, we need to look at it and kind of break down the actual core. You know, like I said, the abdominal muscles have nothing to do with that. So the six-pack is not a sign for a strong or a stable core. Essentially, what we're looking at is 5 essential muscles which are vital for the core stability. So the first muscle that we have is called the TVA, or transverse abdominis. So this muscle acts as a core set that basically wraps around the lumbar area. And whenever you put your belly in, essentially this muscle just creates compression and just keeps everything in. So we have compression coming from the side. We also have the muscles in the pelvic floor region. So if you imagine the pelvis of the body, inside and kind of at the bottom of the pelvis, you have quite a lot of little muscles that create compression from below. So far we have compression coming from all around, sideways, so transverse pressure. And then when we get contraction of the pelvic floor muscles, that will create compression from below. So again, that keeps everything in. And also the pelvic floor muscles, they will contract the functions around the pelvis. If there is a weakness in any of those muscles, then the entire core is compromised. So you want to have stability coming from below as well. Third aspect of the core is the diaphragm, which is basically situated just below the chest cavity. So what the diaphragm does, essentially, like a lot of you would guess that, is it's a very vital muscle. It contracts with breathing, which is very important. It's a very important function to keep us alive. But what you need to also realize is that not everyone breathes in the way that we're designed to breathe. So as human beings, we're designed to breathe through the nose, which is basically contracting and relaxing the diaphragm. A lot of us breathe through the mouth all the time, which creates a lot of stress going through the ribcage, which can then create shoulder movements like this. So if someone's breathing like this movement is not good for the body because it creates too much compression and just too much movement coming through the shoulders. So essentially the diaphragm is responsible for those actions. And then whenever the diaphragm is functioning right, you get compression coming from above. So now we have compression from the sides, or transverse, again, compression, we have compression from the bottom. And now with the diaphragm itself, we have compression from the top. So the entire abdominal contents are now safe and sound. The spine is functioning right because all of these little muscles are helping with that. The breathing is right, the movements of the spine are correct. There isn't too much movement happening in the lumbar spine, which is what you want. Essentially, the lumbar spine is there for stability, just like the core itself. And then finally, we can look at the internal and external obliques. So the muscles that basically wrap around the side of the body. And again, they aid the transverse abdominis into that transverse compression. And they also have a rotation, which is a very important function of the human body. A function that a lot of trainers and a lot of therapists out there forget to kind of prescribe to their clients. But essentially, we're a 3D movement creature, so we need to explore all different movements, not just flexion and extension. But predominantly in society nowadays, people kind of focus on flexion, but that is a different story. But yeah, flexion, extension, rotation, very, very important. Movement, lateral flexion, a combination of all these movements is essential for a healthy body and bonus, especially for the spine. So essentially now you know what the core consists of. Once you know that, you need to think about how to exercise. Exercising the core is a different story. Mainly we'll be looking at breathing, we'll be looking at isometric contractions, which basically means contracting a muscle and holding that position. And there isn't much movement involved. And a lot of these exercises may seem like they're not really doing much. However, on the inside, they are creating a lot of isometric force. And all of the isometric force that's being created around the lumbar spine is helping decompress the spine, is helping with the nervous system. So essentially, you're kind of releasing the nerves a little bit as well. You're helping the bigger muscles take on more action, because essentially you don't really want little muscles to be taken over from bigger muscles. And also you'll be helping release a very, very important muscle called the psoas major. If people get some kind of an imbalance in the pelvis or some kind of compression due to lack of core stability, then the psoas major will be one of the first muscles to be affected by it. And if that muscle gets affected, then a lot can happen around the body. As always, guys, if you like the content, please give us a like, share and comment on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and comment if you have any questions that you want me to get back to. If you have any topics that you want to discuss, I'll be happy to do that. Until next time.